In the bustling heart of Chicago, the wind whipped through the streets like a restless spirit, carrying with it the burdens and dreams of everyday life. For Elena, a 28-year-old art gallery assistant, the routine was a familiar melody, one she danced to with an air of comfort. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the pavement, as she closed up the gallery for the night. The walls, adorned with vibrant canvases, felt like a sanctuary. Each painting whispered secrets of passion and ambition, reflecting the very essence of her existence. Yet, as she walked to her car, the world outside her bubble felt electric, charged with a tension she couldn't quite place. Her mind drifted over the mundane thoughts of grocery lists and upcoming exhibitions, completely unaware of the life-altering encounter that awaited her just moments ahead. Before she could turn the key in the ignition, a ripple of energy swept through the air, causing her to glance up. That's when she saw him, the man cast in shades of mystery and power. Marco, the notorious mafia boss, stood a few feet away, leaning against a sleek black car that radiated authority. He was well-dressed, a tailored suit that seemed to mold to his powerful frame, with dark hair tousled just enough to suggest a careless charm. The moment their eyes locked, Elena felt a jolt, a connection that was both unnerving and exhilarating. It was as if the world around her faded, leaving only the two of them suspended in a single breath. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Elena snapped back to reality, heart racing as she quickly averted her gaze. In that instant, she realized the weight of his presence. The whispers she had heard in the gallery about Marco were no exaggeration. His reputation preceded him like a dark cloud, a man who commanded both respect and fear. The stories of rivalries, disappearances, and an empire built on a foundation of power and intrigue skated through her mind. She was just a simple gallery assistant, and he was an enigma wrapped in danger. As she fumbled with her keys, a small piece of paper fluttered near her feet, drawing her attention away from the unsettling tension. Bending down to pick it up, she caught sight of Marco again. He was now standing a little closer, an amused smile playing on his lips, as if he found her nervousness entertaining. It was disarming, triggering a flicker of anger within her. She didn't want to be just another face in the crowd that caught his eye. "Do you always pick up random notes from the ground?" he asked, his voice smooth and rich like dark chocolate, laced with an accent that hinted at his Italian heritage. The unexpected question made her blood race with a mixture of indignation and intrigue. "Only when they're worth picking up," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. But beneath her defensive exterior, she was captivated. She could see it in his dark, piercing eyes that seemed to delve deeper than the surface, searching not just for what was there, but for what lay beneath. Marco chuckled softly. Yet there was an undercurrent of something more serious in his gaze. "And do you find this one worth your time?" Elena opened the note, revealing a simple reminder about an upcoming art auction. She forced a smile, trying to shrug off the gravity of the encounter. "It's just a reminder about work," she said, waving it dismissively. "But isn't art about passion?" he pressed, taking a step closer, invading her personal space with an ease that made her pulse quicken. "It's not just about the auction. It's about the stories behind the pieces, the emotions they evoke." She searched his face for jokes, a hidden agenda, but his expression remained earnest, almost magnetic. A flicker of curiosity ignited within her, along with an inexplicable attraction that tugged at her mind. As much as she wanted to hate the legend surrounding him, she found herself drawn to the depth of his words, the way he spoke with conviction. "What do you know about passion?" she countered, a challenge lacing her tone, fighting to maintain her composure. Marco's eyes narrowed slightly, and a smile danced on his lips, a wolfish grin. "More than you might realize, Elena." Her breath caught at the sound of her name slipping from his lips. It felt personal, intimate, and rather inappropriate given the circumstances. This encounter was unlike any she had experienced, and the chemistry simmering between them was undeniable. It was a clash of worlds, a powerful mafia boss meeting a humble art assistant. "Why are you here?" she finally blurted, her heart racing with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. "In this part of the city?" He tilted his head, studying her as if she were a painting to be deciphered. "You could say I have an interest in art," he replied, "but it's more than that. People like me need to understand what we're fighting for, the beauty amidst the chaos." It was then that Elena sensed the tension shift in the air, the stakes elevating like a taut wire ready to snap. She was standing on the precipice of danger, her mundane world colliding with his darker reality. Despite the instinct to step back, to retreat into the safety of her ordinary life, there was an undeniable thrill in standing so close to the edge. "I don't think this is a world for someone like me," she hesitated, her heart battling her mind. He stepped even closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "But what if you're wrong?" In that moment, the heaviness of his words washed over her, and she knew her life would never be the same again. She felt the overwhelming allure of his world beckoning her, a dangerous promise that could unravel everything she thought she knew. The evening air felt charged with anticipation as Elena prepared for the charity gala hosted by one of the city's elite art collectors. The gallery buzzed with excitement, a whirlwind of elegance and sophistication. But her thoughts were consumed by the memory of Marco. Despite the whispers of danger surrounding him, she found herself inexplicably drawn to the powerful mafia boss. A part of her knew she should resist the pull, but curiosity ignited a fire within her, a flame she couldn't quite extinguish. As she arrived at the venue, a grand hall adorned with twinkling chandeliers and luxurious drapery, Elena's heart raced. The atmosphere was filled with the soft clinking of glasses and laughter, mingling with the rich aroma of exquisite cuisine. The event was a showcase of art meant to raise funds for local charities. Yet the underlying current of money and influence was palpable. She took a deep breath, pushing aside the anxiety that threatened to overwhelm her. "Time to focus on the art," she whispered to herself, scanning the room for familiar faces. Yet her eyes betrayed her intentions, searching for the dark figure whose presence lingered in her mind. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the chatter, smooth and undeniably magnetic. "Enjoying the view, Elena?" Marco stood before her, impeccably dressed, the tailored suit clinging to his frame as if it were made for him alone. His smile was disarming, yet it hinted at the man behind the mask, his aura both inviting and intimidating. She could feel the heat rising to her cheeks as she composed herself. "Just admiring the art," she replied, forcing a smile despite the butterflies in her stomach. This was not just any gala. It felt like a carefully orchestrated ballet, with each guest playing their part in the grand performance of power. Marco's gaze flickered over the room, assessing the crowd with a subtle intensity. Art has a way of bringing people together, doesn't it? Even those with different motives. His emphasis on the word motive sent a shiver down her spine, reminding her of the stories she had heard, of betrayals and loyalties tested in the shadowy world he inhabited. "Or it can hide them," Elena shot back, feeling emboldened by the presence of the art that surrounded them. Sometimes, the most beautiful pieces have the darkest stories. She didn't know where the courage came from, but she felt a surge of defiance against the man who embodied both danger and allure. Marco's lips curled into a smirk, admiration glinting in his eyes. "You're sharper than I thought. Most people only see the surface." He stepped closer, the space between them narrowing, filling her with an intoxicating mix of exhilaration and apprehension. "What about you? What lies beneath your surface, Elena?" The question hung heavy in the air, and she fought to maintain her composure. What did he see in her? She was just an ordinary woman, wrapped in the complexities of her own life. "I'm pretty much what you see," she replied, trying to deflect the probing look he gave her. "Then allow me to peel back a layer," he challenged, his tone playful, yet laden with seriousness. "Join me for a moment?" There's something I want to show you." With that, he extended his arm, and despite the warning bells ringing in her head, she found herself reaching out to take it, her pulse racing as their fingers brushed, an electric connection that sent a shiver through her. He led her through the crowd, weaving in and out of conversations and laughter, until they reached a quieter area adorned with stunning sculptures, bathed in soft light. Here, away from the prying eyes, the tension shifted, and she could feel the weight of his attention on her. "This piece," he said, gesturing to a large abstract sculpture that seemed to echo the chaos of emotions within her, "speaks of struggle and triumph. Much like life, wouldn't you agree?" Elena studied the sculpture, its jagged edges and flowing curves reflecting her own internal battle. "It's beautiful, yet it feels conflicted," she admitted, her gaze drifting back to him, "like it's trying to tell a story that's not quite finished." "Precisely," Marco replied, his voice low and intense. "And that's where we often find ourselves, isn't it? In the midst of conflict, trying to make sense of our stories." His eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment it felt as if the world around them faded away. Elena swallowed hard, caught between the thrill of the moment and the danger lurking just beneath the surface of their interactions. "And what's your story, Marco? Are you the hero or the villain?" He chuckled, a sound rich with amusement and something darker. "Perhaps I'm both. Life isn't black and white. There's a gray area where most of us dwell." She tilted her head, intrigued. "And what about this gray area? How does it feel?" He leaned closer, their voices barely above a whisper, and she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "It's lonely, Elena, but it can also be exhilarating if you know how to navigate it." His words resonated within her, igniting a sense of empathy she hadn't anticipated. "I suppose we all have our battles," she murmured, feeling an unexpected connection blossoming between them. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A group of men entered the quieter space, their presence imposing and filled with an energy that felt more threatening than celebratory. Marco's demeanor changed in an instant, his charming smile replaced with a cold, calculating gaze. The joviality that had surrounded them evaporated, and Elena could sense the tension thickening in the air. "Excuse me," he said, his voice now clipped, as if he were donning another mask altogether. "I need to handle something. I'll be back shortly." She nodded, her heart sinking as he stepped away, leaving her to grapple with the sudden shift in their dynamic. The allure of danger was palpable, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of regret for the connection they had just begun to forge. Her instincts screamed at her to walk away, yet a deeper curiosity rooted her in place. The gala continued around her, but her thoughts were consumed by Marco, the man who, despite the chaos and danger he embodied, had awakened something within her. As the night wore on, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of their story, a story that was far from finished. The tension lingered in the air as Elena turned her attention from the abstract sculpture to Marco, whose gaze seemed to pierce right through her. She felt vulnerable under his scrutiny, yet there was a thrill in the danger he represented. "What do you mean by peeling back a layer?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. Marco stepped closer, the warmth of his presence enveloping her. "I've been watching you, Elena, your passion for art, a way you interact with those around you. You're not just an assistant, you have a spark that's hard to ignore." His words hung between them, heavy with implications. The admiring glint in his eyes made her heart race, but the weight of his past, the world he came from, cast a shadow over the moment. "Watching me?" She tried to keep her tone light, but the seriousness of his confession sent a jolt of uncertainty through her. "Is that your way of saying you're interested? Or is it simply a matter of curiosity?" "Both," he replied, unabashed. "You draw me in, and yes, I have my reasons." His expression darkened slightly, as if recalling hidden truths. "There's more to us than meets the eye." Before she could respond, Marco's attention diverted to a group of well-dressed individuals across the hall. Elena followed his gaze and noticed a man with a sharp suit, gesturing animatedly, flanked by two equally imposing figures. The atmosphere shifted subtly, tension rippling through the crowd. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her instinct for self-preservation kicking in. "Just business," Marco replied, his voice calm but laced with an undercurrent of seriousness. "I'll handle it." He turned back to her, the intensity in his eyes reigniting her curiosity. "But I want you to know, you're part of something bigger now. I didn't plan it, but your life is intertwined with mine in ways you can't yet comprehend." Her heart sank at his words. "What do you mean? How am I part of your world?" The realization of being caught in his orbit sent a mix of fear and intrigue coursing through her. Marco hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. "Your father," he paused, his expression shifting, and she could see the shadows cast by her family history. "He had debts, and those debts haven't vanished with his passing." The statement hung heavily between them, the implications crashing down on her like a wave. Elena's breath caught in her throat. "What are you saying?" Anguish and confusion painted her features as reality began to set in. "Are you telling me I owe you something?" "It's not about that," Marco replied, his tone softening. "It's about protecting you. The people I owe are not just anyone. They're dangerous. Your father's choices put you in their sights. I've kept an eye on you to ensure you remain safe." The ground beneath her felt unsteady as she processed his words. The revelation that her father's decisions had left her vulnerable, entangled in a world she wanted nothing to do with. "So, you think stalking me will protect me?" she challenged, her voice rising with indignation. "What else have you done? What do you really want from me?" Marco's demeanor shifted. "I don't want anything from you that you're not willing to give, Elena. This isn't just about attraction, it's about survival. I care about your safety, and I know that knowledge can be a heavy burden." "Care?" she echoed, disbelief mingling with a strange thrill at his confession. "You care about me, but you're part of a world that thrives on fear and manipulation. How can I trust you?" His eyes darkened, filled with a mix of vulnerability and intensity. "You don't have to trust me, but you must understand that the stakes are high. I didn't choose this life, but I take responsibility for those in my orbit. You're important to me in ways I can't fully explain." "Important, or just another pawn in your game?" The words spilled out, a defensive mechanism her heart had conjured. Yet, somewhere within her, she felt the pull of his honesty, a flicker of something genuine beneath the layers of his guarded exterior. "Neither," he insisted, stepping back slightly as if her words had struck him. "What I'm saying is that I want to be more than just a mafia boss to you. I want you to see the man beneath the title." Elena took a breath, letting the weight of his words settle. "And what if I don't want that? What if I want to walk away? I didn't ask for any of this, Marco." The fire of her independence flared within her. She wouldn't allow herself to be swept away by the currents of his world without a fight. "Then I'll help you walk away." His voice was unwavering, the promise heavy with sincerity. "But know this, Elena. Walking away won't be easy. The ties of your father's past are strong and they won't let go easily." A wave of anger washed over her. "You think I'm just going to accept that? To live in the shadows of my father's mistakes? No, I refuse to be defined by his debts or your world. I'm capable of standing on my own." "Then prove it," Marco challenged, his eyes narrowing, challenging her resolve. "Prove that you can handle the truth." The determination in his voice ignited a fire within her. She took a step back, her heart racing, not just from fear but from the thrill of the challenge. "I will, but I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with. If I'm entangled in your world, I deserve to understand its depths." Marco regarded her with a newfound respect, admiration glimmering in his eyes. "Very well," he said, his voice steady. "But know that once you step into this world, there's no stepping back. Are you ready to face the truth?" Elena swallowed hard, uncertainty dancing at the edges of her resolve. "I am." With those words, she knew she had made a pact. Not just with Marco, but with herself to confront the tangled web of her life and the man who had unexpectedly captured her heart. As they stood amidst the grandeur of the gala, the reality of their connection settled heavily between them. This was no longer just about art or charity. It was about fate and choices that would intertwine their lives in ways neither could foresee. Marco reached for her hand, and she allowed him to take it, the warmth of his grip igniting a spark of courage deep within her. "Then let's begin," he said, his voice a low promise as they stepped back into the thrumming world of the gala, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The dance of danger and desire had only just begun. Elena's heart raced, a whirlwind of confusion and attraction swirling within her as she absorbed Marco's revelations. The gravity of her father's past began to take root in her mind, intertwining with her reality. Marco's gaze, intense and unwavering, held a mixture of urgency and vulnerability that drew her in further, yet uncertainty gripped her. The world he inhabited was foreign to her, dangerous, and she felt like a moth drawn to a flame, despite the risks. Before she could voice her concerns, the tension in the room shifted again. The sharp-dressed man across the hall moved closer, flanked by his imposing companions. Marco's demeanor hardened, a wall of ice replacing the warmth that had surrounded him moments earlier. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice low and commanding. Elena nodded, instinctively moving to his side, her pulse quickening as a sense of foreboding enveloped them. She glanced at Marco, trying to read the emotions flickering across his face. "Who is that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Rinaldi," Marco replied, his jaw tightening at the name. "The leader of a rival faction. He's been making waves lately, trying to expand his territory. We can't let him disrupt what we've built." As Marco spoke, Elena felt an urgent need to understand the depths of the danger surrounding them. "What does he want?" she pressed, her mind racing with thoughts of how this could affect her life. "He wants power, and he sees my empire as an obstacle," Marco answered, his eyes narrowing. "He'll do anything to eliminate me, but I won't give him that satisfaction." Elena's heart pounded in her chest as the weight of the situation settled in. She had thought of Marco as an enigma wrapped in allure, but now the layers of his life unfurled, revealing a man who fought for survival amidst the chaos of his world. As she stood beside him, she sensed the flicker of strength growing within her. She was no longer just an observer. She was a part of this fight, whether she liked it or not. "Why do you care about protecting me?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I'm just a gallery assistant with no ties to your world." Marco turned to face her, his expression softening momentarily. "Because you matter, Elena. Your father's debts don't define you, but they make you a target. And I can't let that happen." His admission hung in the air between them, a profound connection forged in the flames of danger and desire. Elena's resolve hardened. "So, what's the plan? How do I fit into this?" Marco hesitated, the shadows of his past flickering across his face. "I need to know you're safe, while I handle Rinaldi. You'll stay with me until this is resolved. I can't risk you being alone." A rush of defiance surged through Elena. "You think I'll just hide away while you deal with this? I want to help. I can't just stand by and do nothing." Marco studied her, surprise etched across his features. "You don't understand the risks, Elena. This isn't a game." "Neither is my life," she shot back, her determination unwavering. "If my father's decisions put me in danger, then I want to face that danger head-on. I won't be a pawn in someone else's game." A flicker of admiration sparked in Marco's eyes, and he stepped closer, the air between them crackling with unspoken tension. "You're braver than I thought," he mused, his voice low and intense. "But you have to promise me that you'll follow my lead. This is not just about you anymore. It's about both of us." Elena took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration wash over her. She could see the vulnerability behind his hard exterior, the weight of responsibility he carried for those he cared about. "I promise," she said, her voice steady. "But I need you to promise me something in return. That you'll let me in, that I won't be kept in the dark." He studied her for a long moment, before nodding, a silent agreement passing between them. "All right, but you must understand I will do anything to protect you, even if it means pushing you away at times." Before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted from the direction of Rinaldi and his men. Elena's instincts kicked in, and she felt a rush of adrenaline. "What's happening?" she asked, her pulse racing. "Stay here," Marco commanded, his tone leaving no room for argument. He moved toward the gathering crowd, his presence commanding as he approached Rinaldi. Elena's heart raced as she watched him confront the rival boss, the tension palpable in the air. The two men exchanged heated words, and Elena could feel the eyes of the room upon them. It was as if the world had paused, every breath held in anticipation of the fallout. Marco's posture radiated confidence, yet beneath it, she sensed the turmoil within him. A man fighting not just for his empire, but for her safety as well. Suddenly, Rinaldi gestured aggressively, and the atmosphere shifted. Elena's instincts screamed at her to intervene, but Marco shot her a look that warned her to stay put. Just then, the rival boss leaned in closer, his voice a low growl that carried across the room. "You've grown soft, Marco. You think you can protect what's yours while you're distracted by a pretty face?" The words struck like a blow, and Elena felt her heart drop. Marco's eyes flared with anger, but there was something else beneath the surface. Fear? Vulnerability? She couldn't decipher it, but she knew his world was closing in around him. "Watch your mouth, Rinaldi," Marco replied, his tone icy. "You have no idea what I'm capable of." Elena felt a surge of urgency. This was her moment to step into the fray, to show Marco she was not merely a damsel in distress. She moved closer, her heart pounding as she prepared to speak. "Marco, wait!" But before she could finish, Marco's expression shifted. He turned back toward her, his eyes fierce, yet protective. "No, Elena, just stay back." The tension snapped like a taut wire, and Elena felt the ground beneath her shift. The stakes were rising, and as Marco faced off against Rinaldi, she realized that this was not just a battle for power. It was a battle for their future, and for the first time, she understood the depths of her feelings for him. She was willing to fight not just for herself, but for the man who had unexpectedly become her protector. "Whatever happens," she whispered to herself, her resolve strengthening, "I'm all in." In that moment, the stakes were higher than ever, and as the confrontation unfolded, Elena could feel the bond between them solidifying, a connection forged in the flames of danger and raw emotion, leading them both toward an uncertain yet inevitable path. Elena felt the tension in the air thicken, a palpable sense of danger that wrapped around them like a suffocating shroud. She leaned closer to Marco, their bodies almost touching, and whispered urgently, "What do we do? How can we outmaneuver him?" There was a fire igniting within her, a fierce determination that surprised even herself. She refused to hide, to cower in the shadows of someone else's battle. Marco's eyes darkened, a storm brewing behind them. "Rinaldi won't make a move unless he feels secure," he replied, his voice steady but urgent. "He's calculating and ruthless. I need to show him I'm not afraid. You need to stay close to me. If he senses vulnerability, he'll strike." Elena nodded, taking in the gravity of his words. The pieces of her father's past were clicking into place, and she could no longer view this world through the lens of ignorance. The stakes were high, and she was no longer just a bystander. "What if he tries to use me against you?" she questioned, her heart racing at the thought. The idea of becoming a pawn in this deadly game terrified her, but she wouldn't let fear dictate her next steps. Marco's expression softened momentarily, revealing a flicker of protectiveness that made her heart flutter against her will. "He won't," he assured her, though the uncertainty in his eyes betrayed him. "But if he does, I won't let him take you." Just then, a commotion erupted from the other side of the hall. Elena's instincts kicked in, and she turned to see Rinaldi's entourage moving closer, their confidence exuding an aura of menace. The rival leader, with his slicked-back hair and sharp suit, was a stark contrast to Marco's rugged charm. "Stay behind me," Marco commanded firmly, positioning himself between Elena and the approaching threat. Elena's pulse quickened, adrenaline surging through her veins. She could see the tension in Marco's shoulders as they squared off with Rinaldi, whose mouth curled into a smirk. "Marco," Rinaldi called out, his voice smooth like silk. "Still playing the noble protector, I see. How quaint. But we both know this city isn't big enough for the both of us." "Stay out of my way, Rinaldi," Marco retorted, his voice low and menacing. "You don't want to make this personal." "Oh, but it already is," Rinaldi replied, gesturing with a flourish. "You've built an empire on borrowed time. It's only a matter of time before it collapses." Elena could feel the tension escalate, the air thickening with unspoken threats. Her heart raced as she watched the exchange unfold, every word a carefully measured step in a dangerous dance. Marco's eyes flickered to her, a silent plea for her to remain calm amidst the brewing storm. "Is that so?" Marco countered, his jaw clenched. "You think you can just waltz in here and take what's mine? You underestimate me." Elena sensed the underlying animosity, the history of battles fought and alliances broken. Rinaldi's gaze flicked to her, a predatory glint lighting his eyes. "And who is this lovely creature? Your new muse?" he taunted, a wicked smile stretching across his lips. Elena felt a surge of anger at the way he looked at her, but she remained rooted beside Marco. "I'm more than that," she shot back, surprising herself with her boldness. "And I won't let you use me as leverage against him." Rinaldi's amusement faded, and his expression turned cold. Bold words for someone who doesn't know the game we're playing. "If you're not careful, you might find yourself caught in the crossfire." "Enough!" Marco's voice boomed, cutting through the tension like a knife. "If you want a war, then I'll give you one. But make no mistake, I won't lose." With that, Marco turned to Elena, his eyes burning with intensity. "We need to get out of here, now." Before she could respond, Marco grasped her hand, leading her away from the confrontation. The urgency in his grip sent a thrill through her, a mixture of fear and excitement that left her breathless. They navigated through the crowd, the world around them blurring into an indistinct haze as they moved deeper into the heart of the gala. "Where are we going?" she asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "What's the plan?" Marco glanced back, ensuring they weren't being followed. "There's a safe room in the back of the building," he replied, his tone clipped. "I need to regroup and figure out how to handle Rinaldi. I can't risk you being exposed." Elena felt a pang of frustration. "I'm not just going to hide while you deal with this. I want to help." "Help?" Marco's features softened, the warmth returning to his gaze. "You don't understand. This is life or death. You need to trust me." "I do trust you," she replied, her voice steady as they entered a dimly lit hallway. "But I can't be a passive participant. I've spent my whole life watching from the sidelines. Not anymore." Marco paused, studying her with an intensity that ignited a fire within her. "You're not afraid, are you?" "No," she stated firmly, meeting his gaze head-on. "I'm scared, but I refuse to let that fear control me." A hint of admiration flickered in Marco's eyes, and he took a step closer. "Then we'll face this together, but promise me you'll listen to me, no matter what happens." "I promise," Elena replied, feeling the weight of their shared commitment. "We're in this together now." As they reached the door to the safe room, the gravity of their situation settled around them. This was no longer just about her father's debts or the chaos of the mafia world. It was about their connection, their bond forged in the fire of danger. Together, they would confront whatever came next. But as Marco opened the door, a shadow loomed behind them, a figure slipping silently from the darkness. Elena's heart sank as she recognized the familiar face, an unexpected betrayal that would turn their world upside down. "Did you really think you could keep me out of this?" The voice dripped with malice, sending chills down her spine. The revelation struck like a lightning bolt, and the reality of their circumstances crashed down around them. The stakes had never been higher, and the fight for survival was just beginning. Elena's heart raced as they ducked into a side corridor, Marco's grip firm around her wrist. She could hear the muted thud of footsteps behind them, and the rising tension in the air curled around her like smoke. "What's the plan?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, but she could feel the urgency in every word. Marco paused for a moment, his brow furrowing as he glanced back towards the main hall, the conflict still echoing in his mind. "Rinaldi thinks he knows me," he said, his tone low and intense. "He thinks he can rattle me by using you. But he doesn't understand that I'm willing to sacrifice everything for those I care about." The weight of his words settled heavily between them, a declaration of loyalty that sent shivers down her spine. She could feel the unspoken bond solidifying in that moment, a connection forged by the flames of danger that surrounded them. "Sacrifice?" Elena echoed, her voice trembling slightly. "What do you mean by that?" She searched his eyes, desperate to grasp the full extent of his intentions. Marco's gaze softened momentarily, a flicker of vulnerability shining through his fierce exterior. "I've built this life on loyalty and power, but it means nothing if I lose what I care about," he admitted, his voice almost a whisper. "You must understand, Elena. I won't let Rinaldi use you against me. I'd risk it all." Before she could respond, there was a distant shout, a booming voice calling out Marco's name, sending a jolt of fear through her. "We need to keep moving," Marco urged, pulling her along the dimly lit corridor. As they navigated through the maze of shadows, Elena felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins, pushing her forward. She had never anticipated being caught in the midst of a mafia conflict, much less being at the center of it. But each step they took brought her closer to a realization. Her feelings for Marco were deeper than she had ever acknowledged. It was more than attraction. It was a bond that was growing stronger amidst the chaos. The walls of her previous life were crumbling, giving way to a world filled with danger and passion. "Marco," she said breathlessly, stopping him in his tracks, "I trust you. Whatever this is between us, I want to fight for it." His eyes widened slightly, surprise flickering in the depths. "You don't know what you're saying," he cautioned, but there was a warmth in his expression that contradicted his words. "This world, it's dangerous. You could get hurt. I'm already in this." "Marco," she insisted, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "You've pulled me into your world, and I won't back down now. If Rinaldi wants to play games, we'll show him we're not afraid." A slow smile crept onto Marco's face, and she felt a rush of warmth at the sight. "That's the spirit," he replied, admiration shining in his eyes, "but we need to be smart about it." As they reached a secluded exit, Marco pushed the door open, revealing the night sky above them. They stepped outside, the cool air enveloping them like a balm. The street was quiet, but the tension from inside lingered like a thick fog. Marco turned to Elena, his expression serious. "We'll need to confront Rinaldi, but on our terms. I'll arrange a meeting. And we'll lay our cards on the table." "Are you sure that's wise?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. "What if he tries to manipulate you? What if he uses me again?" Marco stepped closer, his presence radiating strength and assurance. "He won't get the chance. I'll protect you, no matter what." The fierce determination in his voice sent a thrill through her, but underlying it was a vulnerability that she hadn't noticed before. This wasn't just about power or control, it was about protecting the things that mattered most to him. They stood there for a moment, the weight of their situation pressing down on them. The world around them faded, and all that existed was the connection they shared. Marco's hand brushed against her cheek, his touch sending sparks through her. "I care about you, Elena," he confessed, his voice low and sincere. "More than I ever expected." The admission hung in the air, heavy and beautiful. Elena's heart swelled with emotion, and she reached out, her fingers intertwining with his. "I feel the same way," she admitted, a rush of warmth flooding her. "I may not have been looking for this, but I can't imagine my life without you now." In that moment, everything shifted. The fear and uncertainty began to fade. replaced by a fierce determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. They were no longer just players in a dangerous game. They were partners, united against the odds. Just then, Elena felt a rumble in the distance, the sound of approaching vehicles breaking the moment. Marco's expression changed, his focus sharpening. "We're not alone," he said, pulling her closer as they heard the unmistakable roar of engines. "Get ready." As the headlights of black SUVs pierced the darkness, Elena realized this was it, the confrontation they had been preparing for. Marco stood tall beside her, his presence reassuring and powerful. They would face Rinaldi together, and whatever happened next, they would do it side by side. "Remember, stay close to me," Marco instructed, his voice steady and commanding. Elena nodded, her resolve strengthening. Whatever chaos awaited them, they would navigate it together. The vehicles screeched to a halt, and the door swung open, revealing Rinaldi and his men. The rival leader stepped forward, a smug grin plastered on his face. "Well, well, if it isn't Marco and his little redhead. I've come to settle our score." Marco's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing as he stepped forward. "You want a war, Rinaldi? Then let's have one. But know this, I won't back down and I won't lose." Elena felt a rush of adrenaline surging through her veins. This was just the beginning, and she was ready to fight for the man standing beside her. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together, united by a bond that had been forged in fire. The stakes were high, but their resolve was stronger. As the tension crackled in the air, Elena took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. She wasn't just a pawn in their game, she was a player, ready to stand her ground. And for Marco, she would fight. "Let's do this," she whispered, determination etched on her face. Marco glanced at her, the flicker of approval in his eyes igniting a flame of courage within her. Together, they would confront the darkness that loomed ahead, ready to carve out their destiny. Elena's heart pounded in her chest as she and Marco stepped outside, the cool night air, a stark contrast to the tension that had enveloped them moments before. The moon cast a silvery glow over the deserted street, illuminating the path ahead, but leaving shadows lurking in the corners. She took a deep breath, grounding herself amidst the chaos. This was no longer just a moment of survival. It was the beginning of something irrevocable. "Marco," she said, her voice steady, "we need to be strategic. Rinaldi is not someone to underestimate." She could see the fire in Marco's eyes, a mixture of determination and fear. He was a man accustomed to control. Yet here they were, standing on the precipice of an uncertain future together. "Believe me, I know the risks," he replied, his voice low and unwavering. "But you must understand something. I will not let him use you as a pawn in his games. We'll confront him, but on our own terms." His confidence instilled a sense of courage within her, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of dread. This was a world filled with shadows and whispers, and she could feel the weight of it pressing down on them. "Then let's do it," she said, her resolve hardening. "We'll face him together. I won't be a damsel in distress, Marco. I want to be part of this." The words shocked even her, but she meant every syllable. This was her life now, intertwined with his, and she couldn't turn back. Marco studied her for a moment, a flicker of admiration crossing his features. "You're stronger than I realized," he murmured. "But it's not just about strength. It's about knowing when to fight and when to retreat." He stepped closer, their faces mere inches apart, and she could feel the heat radiating from him. "I need you to promise me that you'll trust me no matter what happens." "I promise," she said, her voice firm, though her heart fluttered at the intimacy of the moment. The air between them crackled with unspoken emotions, and she could see the vulnerability lurking behind his fierce exterior. This wasn't just a mafia boss. This was a man who cared deeply, even if he struggled to express it. Before they could linger in the moment, a car pulled up at the end of the street, its headlights slicing through the darkness. Marco's expression shifted from warmth to alertness, the protector within him surfacing once again. "We need to move," he said, taking her hand and leading her towards the vehicle. As they reached it, Marco opened the door for her, his demeanor shifting back to that of the powerful boss she had first encountered. "Get in," he instructed, his tone leaving no room for argument. She complied, her heart racing not just from fear, but from the thrill of what was to come. They sped through the streets of Chicago, the city lights blurring past them. Elena glanced at Marco, who was focused on the road ahead, his jaw set in determination. "Where are we going?" she asked, unable to contain her curiosity. "To a safe house," he replied, his voice steady. "It's where we'll regroup and plan our next move." "Are we going to confront Rinaldi there?" she pressed, the thought both exhilarating and terrifying. "Yes," he answered, his eyes flickering to her for a brief moment. "But I want you to understand something. This is going to be dangerous. He won't back down easily." "I'm not afraid, Marco," she declared, her voice stronger than she felt. "We've come this far together. I refuse to let fear dictate my actions." He smiled slightly, but there was a seriousness in his gaze. "That's the spirit I need. Just remember, no matter what happens, we'll face it together. I won't let anything happen to you." With those words, a sense of warmth spread through her, anchoring her amidst the uncertainty. Marco wasn't just a mafia boss. He was her partner in this chaotic world, and together, they would redefine the rules. As they arrived at the safe house, Elena felt a sense of resolve wash over her. They stepped into the dimly lit space, and Marco immediately went to secure the doors. "We'll need to strategize," he said, his voice taking on a business-like tone. "Rinaldi will try to manipulate us, but we can't let him." Elena nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to find a way to turn the tables on him. If we can anticipate his moves, we can outsmart him." "Exactly," Marco replied, his eyes lighting up with appreciation for her insight. "You're thinking like a strategist. I like it." The conversation flowed seamlessly as they plotted their next steps, the fear of the impending confrontation slowly morphing into determination. As the hours passed, they shared stories, laughter, and moments of vulnerability that deepened their bond. Marco opened up about his past, revealing the scars that shaped him, while Elena shared her aspirations and dreams, allowing him to see the woman behind the facade of the art gallery assistant. "I never thought I'd find someone like you," Marco confessed, his voice softening. "You've changed everything for me." Elena felt her heart swell at his words. "And you've changed everything for me too. I didn't know I could feel this way, especially in a world like this. Whatever happens with Rinaldi, know that I care about you," he said, his gaze intense. "I won't let him come between us." As they stood facing each other, the weight of their commitment hung in the air. This was more than just a fight against an enemy. It was a declaration of their feelings and a promise to face whatever lay ahead together. "Let's show him that we're not afraid," Elena said, her voice steady. "Together, we're unstoppable." Marco's expression shifted, a spark of admiration igniting in his eyes. "Together," he echoed, and in that moment, they sealed their fate, ready to confront the challenges that awaited them. With a newfound sense of purpose, they prepared to face Rinaldi, armed not only with their plans, but with the strength of their bond. Whatever lay ahead, they would navigate it together, united against the world that sought to tear them apart. As they stood side by side, ready to step into the fray, Elena knew they would emerge stronger, not just as individuals, but as partners, facing the storm together, hearts intertwined in a world where love and danger danced dangerously close.